Yes, self is a problem in,
Yep. Okay.
that's a tough one.
Uh,
It's so counterculture to do anything other than admire it. So I started listening to Mel Robbins' book, Let Them. And,
Yeah.
it's like somebody has kind of a good idea, but it's so individualistic that he says, well, it's not like this, and it's kind of like this, but it's not like that. And
I'm noticing like I'm really in the early stages. Like I've got like a few pages that I've like kind of just clunked together. These are ideas I think are interesting. But when I actually sit down and I go, okay, I want to like explore the self and like the basic underpinnings of all humans, right? And I like even defining self, like
if you,
you know what I mean?
the temptation is to define it individualistically, like in terms of a person.
Right, and
But we're relational beings.
right, and I like that concept. We've talked about that before. Who was the I think, therefore I am?
Rene Descartes.
Descartes, right. But then somebody said, where did those thoughts come from?
Yeah, so Rene Descartes says, I think, therefore I am, or in Latin, cogito ergo sum. And he says that in the 1500s, okay, long
Yeah.
time ago, I think,
Yeah,
maybe 1600s. But and then in the 20th century, Martin Heidegger comes along and says something like this. He says, Rene, where did you get the language to formulate the idea, I think, therefore I am?
yeah,
Because he formulates it in French and in Latin,
yeah,
which he didn't invent. He had acquired that through being born into a world in a village, in a town where that's what was spoken, that's what his parents spoke, and he acquired that from them, which is, again, we acquire language in relationship with others.
the book we used to use at Anasazi, The Seven Paths of the Anasazi Way.
Yeah.
A young Native American boy becomes disenchanted with the ways of his people.
Yeah.
And so he tries to leave them. And there's a part in there where it explains that he realized that he couldn't leave them because the words he spoke were the words that his father taught him.
Yeah.
And there was
So even in his thoughts, they're formulated in that language.
yeah,
And so you can't.
and in those patterns. And
In fact, I don't know if you knew this. Larry Olson was on. Was help in the movie Jeremiah Johnson that had Robert Redford. Do you know about this?
keep going, yeah.
So he did research on all those early trappers, the Kit Carsons and others.
Yes, yeah.
And when he found any journals of them, he read their journals all the way through. He said what was fascinating was these were men living solitary lives up in the mountains, hunting and trapping and skinning the animals and curing the hides and then taking them down to some remote fort and selling them. And he said, but you read their journals, and what they're still talking about is that jerk back in the village that they left and how much they hated him. And they haven't been around for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And they're still carrying that.
Yeah. So it's even in solitude, we are beings in relation.
We take it with us. We just carry him with us wherever we go. And that's actually Thomas McConkie's point also.
Oh yeah, that was wonderful.
In that video where Peace Begins, he tells a story of being so frustrated, not fitting in his family. He leaves, goes to Asia, I think, thousands of miles away. And after about 10 years, he realizes, he's always thought that the conflict's in his father. But now he realizes, wait a minute, I'm here and that conflict's dictating my life, who I can talk to, who can I be around, who I can't be around. He says, I'm the center of that conflict. I'm the focus of it.
I carry it with me, no matter how far I go, I carry it with me.
Well, that's that old saying, no matter where you go.
There you are.
There you are. Again and again and again.
Yeah, and even the way the brain forms and is organized, we don't know a lot about how we come online, how we become human, but in very real ways, I almost feel like a newborn baby.
Even now, would you agree with that? You're still learning?
Right. Yes.
How much online am I?
We're a being in creation, not created beings.
That's very good.
Right.
I'm going to take that. That's a takeaway for me.
Yeah. But what's interesting is I don't think we know a lot about the brain.
If I were to write a book tonight, that would be the title:
You like that title?
Beings in Creation.
It's a fun title.
It's a great title.
Yeah. So
Do I get it or do you get it? You said it.
you can have it.
Okay, good.
Yours, Chris.
I'll never get around to writing it.
Let's do this. Whoever publishes first. Neither of us. No, just kidding.
You're way ahead of me.
I got like 6 pages, man. You better catch up. Anyway. Okay, babies. So a lot of what we think is that babies do this, have mirror neurons. Essentially, they mimic, right? And
That's part of what they do.
well, and I think it'd be
They
interesting.
mimic or they're in response to. I mean, I want to be careful around
It
the language.
starts as mimicking,
Okay.
and then it's very magical. Like we don't know how children learn language, but I think a critical part is this mimicking or mirroring. So they hear you make noise and it hits the sensor on the ear and that excites a part of the brain, and then they make their own noise and they realize they can make noise, and then they hear your noises and they try to mimic those, right?
So this is something I'd try to add into that. There's a video that I can show you. It was an experiment done, which they would not allow to be done today, I suspect. And in the video, you see a woman, and she's got a 3-4 month old baby in a baby carrier. And she's interacting with the baby with smiles, and the baby's mimicking. And she does go in and makes noises and smiles, and it's moving, and just this, you see this interaction. Now the baby doesn't understand any English, but there's something that they're recognizing, appropriating, acquiring in that, okay? Then part of the experiment was the mother turns away and she turns back and she's completely deadpan. And the child does not mimic that.
Oh, fascinating.
The child gets very disturbed. Ah! Ah! You see the hands go out, twisting.
Yeah.
That's not mimicking.
Yeah,
That makes
for
sense?
sure. Well, for sure, yeah. Definitely not the totality of a baby.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if I don't have something to interact with, I won't learn language.
Yes, and that's a crazy idea I've had. Well, it's not so crazy actually, because there's evidence of this.
It's documented.
Yeah, it's documented.
They've had their horrible, sad cases of extreme neglect where a kid's locked in a basement for 8 years and like nobody interacted with them.
They can't acquire language.
They never acquire language.
Do you know the age around that happens? How many years that has to be? Because the wolf children were that kid, somehow the wolves raised the child and they find them here and there. There was one in the news recently.
Really?
Oh yeah, from
This isn't like a
100
Jungle Book story,
yeah, very much so.
but it's like a real story.
Real story.
No,
Yeah.
that's so crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they are feral children. They're
Yeah.
but they're not really human. So my setup is this looking that says, let's suppose somehow technologically you were born on an island and you have no human contact.
Right.
No humans ever on the island. And now you're 40 years old and I come on the island. Well, you don't have any language to talk with me with.
And
You don't know how to be around me. You're a crab or a porpoise.
I think that something that people need to understand that, like, the first time I even contemplated this, it boggled my mind. There's a book by a gal named Jill Bolte Taylor, a neuroanatomist at Harvard. And she had a huge left hemispheric stroke in her language center.
Oh, wow.
And she recovered from it and regained language.
So did Joni Borisenko, who was at Harvard. Do you know about her?
I don't know
She
the
had
story.
a stroke, and she understood what was happening while she was having the stroke.
Jill Bolte Taylor, same thing. She's a neuroanatomist,
Okay.
big headache because she's having a stroke, doesn't key it together, gets on the elliptical to get going for the day, right arm, because left hemisphere would be right arm. Right arm goes dead limp. And in the book she writes, in that moment I thought, oh cool, I'm having a stroke. Because she's fascinated by the brain and she realizes, no way. And she really was fascinated by that moment. But then there was panic, try to get help, right? Anyway, so she experienced a world without language. And so you got, I might get these wrong. I believe Wernicke's area of the brain is receptive, meaning I can understand what you're saying. Broca's area of the brain is expressive, meaning I can speak. And then the parasylvian fissure connects those two. But here's something I had never contemplated. She said that she had no internal monologue. So there was no language to her thoughts. There was no, she was having an experience.
She couldn't talk in her mind.
In her mind, which is almost hard for me to fathom.
I'm trying to think about it right now and I can't get a hold of it.
And so she's having an experience that's outside of language. I had patients on the neuro ICU that had this same injury. And I knew from reading this book that the right hemisphere is very intuitive and it kind of picks up on intuition and energy and intent, right? And so if I came in a room with a patient that has no language, but fully awake, conscious, right? If I come into that room and I come with kindness in my heart, then they would brighten as I came in the room, right? Okay. And they would look at me and I would talk to them and they'd stare into me like nothing happened, right? And they would even have some of that mimicking, like I could go like this and they'd go. And they'd match some of your command, right? Like they could, I do a thumbs up and they.
But that's a mimicking, that's not a meaningful.
It's
not the same meaning.
Hard to say, but I believe that I interacted with humans that were also having an experience outside of language. And to your point, I don't know fully what that is. It's not a vegetable, right?
No.
But it's not what me and you were doing.
No.
Outside of language, there seems to be a diminishment, and I'm talking fully. I'm not talking about somebody that can't talk. No, they have language. I'm not talking about someone that can't hear. They have language. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about all language, including internal monologue, right?
Wow.
Outside of that, of course they're human, right? But
diminished.
It's
Something's
dramatically different.
Yeah.
And if I never had others to interact with, that part of me doesn't exist. And so I agree with you. I only exist in the form that I am, the way that I appreciate myself. I only exist in relationship to others. Like, to your point, if I'm trying to plug in, I love the idea of establishing your assumptions, things you believe are true but can't prove. If I'm plugging in an assumption for self and identity, I'm building this argument the way we are, and then I'm saying, I assume that who we are is beings in relationship.
Yeah.
And that's a big component of what self and identity is. I'm curious what other things seem foundational to you, to self and identity.
Yeah, beings in relationship is fantastic because it pushes away from the individualism. So that's an idea that's out there, very prevalent in our culture, Western culture.
How would you give a brief synopsis
again, it arises
of
out of René Descartes and the idea that through human consciousness I come into being, but it's actually morphed, if you will, into. I hear it more. Well, I still hear it. If someone becomes significantly injured or in aging, they're worried about being put in a rest home or a nursing facility, they're really troubled by this because I don't want to have to be a burden to anybody. I don't want to, I'm my own person. I pull myself up by my own bootstraps. I'm self-made man, right?
But even in that, that's difficult because a lot of times, I mean, even what you said, I don't want to be a burden. That's you in relationship.
That's right.
So it's almost hard to escape it. You know, I likewise hear a lot of arguments. Self-esteem
Yeah.
sometimes is talked about in a way that,
It's individualistic.
oh, here's the one that I think people get in trouble with all the time. Holding boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries. Oh, what about this one? My truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is all a claim that I would like to matter more than those around me. Or I would like to matter distinct and separated of those around. I would like to not have accountability to others. Which sometimes does sound appealing, but I just don't think we work that way.
My wife and I both just read a book that really went down those ideas. That where in our culture, we've gone from, for some groups of people, from seeing God as the source of truth, all the way, or some figure, some intellectual, or several intellectuals, they're the ones who teach us what is and what ain't. To now, where I'm the source of truth, my truth. If I think and feel it, I have the right to act on it. No one can tell me anything, et cetera, et cetera.
Morality is defined on a person-by-person basis.
Individualistic. So
Like,
it's my truth, my
I
morality,
define it all.
my values, I define
And each
all
person. How do you counter that? I'm curious, because I know you don't believe that. The thing I always think about is, it seems like there is such a dramatic overlap in basic morality. So if we were all defining it, how do we all end up here?
I don't think I know enough sort of anthropologically or socially to know how we got here, other than we've had a lot of thinkers who went this route, all the way from St. Thomas Aquinas, Occam, Sir William of Occam.
Yeah.
Those people were in response to the Greek thinkers 2,500 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
when they began to talk about metaphysics and epistemology and those separations. And there's a video, I think, online where Jim Farrell walks through the history of Western philosophy and shows that it's not the same in Eastern philosophy.
Okay.
But it shows how we became increasingly,
Morality develops different Western and Eastern.
yeah.
Does it? I haven't seen it. Does it? I mean, does he propose that they end up with a pretty big overlap? I mean, currently in the world, do you think Eastern philosophy morality is very similar to Western philosophy morality?
We'd have to get a big blackboard out and write down very carefully each of different aspects to begin to see that.
Yeah. Grossly though, wouldn't you? My instinct is yes.
There
I mean,
there's
even if you-
overlaps, but even the overlaps they're off. They're not a nesting.
Yeah. But I mean, the Ten Commandments. That's a very Christian, obviously, right? Biblical, Judeo.
I can go into any religious writer, any text, sacred text from a lot of religions, and they all have amorality in them, and they're often family-based, and they're often
Relationship-based.
relationship-based.
And that's what I mean. There seems to be this thread. You would know this better than me. You're better read, but don't you find the golden rule in like many texts across Eastern and Western?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I feel like most cultures.
There's similarities.
Yeah.
But they're expressed quite differently.
And this is, I mentioned this.
For example, there's a point that I think comes across in Buddhism that Suffering comes because I don't respond well to things going on around me. If I learn to become enlightened, then I'm unaffected by those things that would assault me in my life. But that's still not capturing what I want to talk about in terms of relationalism. We're socially created, socially constructed.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I had such a, because I am so uncultured.
So am I.
I
All you have to do is get me out of my culture, and all of a sudden I'm going, huh?
Well, that's the thing, is like you have these moments where somebody takes you out of your bubble and you're like, oh my gosh, right? Yeah. And I had one of these moments. I ended up giving a kid a ride home who was attending Brigham Young University. He was in their doctoral program for like chemistry and like metallurgy. He, like literally while we were with him, he got an email that said that he had created a new alloy of combining metals, right? But he was from Pakistan, right? And so Eastern philosophy, I don't know if he was Muslim, I can't remember. But it was so fun to kind of walk through basic ideas of life, of like how you deal with heartache, suffering, pain, loss, flaws, grace, making mistakes, right? And it was interesting because a lot of my exposure to Christianity, which is 99.99% of my exposure to thinking in the world, right? But a lot of my exposure to it is this idea that you are greater than you could ever imagine. That you like have a potential beyond your wildest dreams. And that if you learn the right path, you can navigate it in this way that you'll overcome things and become better than you are, right?
So simply said, every culture has recognized travails and troubles, and that we're part of that, and that we could learn something about how to be in this life experience in a different way.
What was fascinating talking to this young man was a lot of his religious, cultural, it would be hard for me to pull apart. Like it was one experience with one guy, but he was from the other side of the world, and it was unique to me.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of his, and maybe this is, you know the stuff better than me, maybe this is a Buddhist thing. I kind of feel like it was more in that Eastern philosophy, Buddhism kind of realm, but to kind of accept your own nothingness, and that was a way of dealing with suffering, was to let go of that ego, to see your own nothingness, and that wasn't your path. Like if something doesn't go your way, that wasn't your path. It wasn't a failing of yours, but also, why would you think you're supposed to have good things? Right? This acceptingness, right? And I could see how that was a response to fear, suffering, guilt, right? This acceptance. And it was just another way of dealing with a very human thing. And I could even see how it worked. Like, I've even tried to like learn more about those things and have those moments where I do find a real value in sitting with my own nothingness in the right way, which was a little foreign. I do see tones of that. There's a lot of humility in Christianity, right? But not the way that it's talked about in like Eastern philosophy and Buddhism, and at least it feels.
I actually find, I've read quite a bit from the Bhagavad Gita to the Quran to aspects of Hinduism and Taoism and Jainism and Zoroastrianism and et cetera.
Right.
They have different feels to them. What you do feel is people trying to figure this human experience
This
out.
is the part that you're keying exactly on what I'm trying to key in on. Like I just see these
Isn't there a better way than what we're typically doing?
well, and these kind of, no matter where you were born in the world, you want to be a good person, and you fail at that, and you want to have value, and you're not sure that you do, and you want to have a purpose,
Yeah.
but you're not sure that you can find it or that you can be of value or do something meaningful. And all of that is universal. And all of that is hard. And all these religions have spoken in a way
To
to
say,
respond to that
Hey,
fear.
do you guys see that this is going on? We're going to suggest a different way.
Yeah. And
You look around at our world, there's so much striving to make money or to get ahead or to own a bigger home, a bigger house, a bigger car, a split level swimming pool, something that we're pursuing, that they're kind of going, yeah, but that didn't bring me happiness. I don't know if that's going to bring you happiness.
yeah.
I don't think it's going to get you what you want,
Yeah.
because a lot of that is comparative instead of connecting. I love in terms of that comparativeness, there's a story told of two authors going to a billionaire's party. The authors are Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller. And Vonnegut turns to Heller and he says, "Are you kind of envious of what this guy has?" And Heller says, "No." He says, "I have something he doesn't have." And Vonnegut's going, "What? What do you have that he doesn't have?" And Heller says, "I have enough."
Yeah.
That's a path.
Yeah.
That's a path. That's an amazing path.
And it's like we're all trying on these paths, constructed on these ideas of what will work.
Yeah.
And it does kind of lead me to this thing, like a powerful thing for me. What works? Like, does it actually work?
Yeah.
And I think that
It depends upon who's measuring and who's assigning what
right,
that is.
and I think, and that's funny because I'm almost circling back into this individualist my truth, which I do not believe in.
Yeah.
I think we're more universal than that. I think we all work the same. At least that's been my experience. The most fundamental parts of us are the same.
So we talked earlier about collusion,
Okay.
and that Terry Werner uses this word to describe this, where I'm in a relationship with someone else or some others, and it's mutually blaming and continues to generate the blame, and we go round and round, and he invents that word. And when I'll have people, when I've taught that, I said, "Now I'm going to teach you something you already know. I'm just going to give you some language around that."
Yeah.
And I'll teach it, and that they're all going, "Oh yeah, I've seen this here and there. I've seen this."
We've all felt it. We've all experienced it.
We've all experienced it.
We've all done it.
Which I find fascinating, to be able to find aspects of the human condition that are easily recognizable by people. I
But
know
that
that.
don't have language.
Don't have language on it. Part of that
That's
is,
so
I'm not
crazy to
smart
me.
enough, but I've heard others say, when you don't have the right language to describe that, you can't quite get a hold of it. And so Terry Werner gave a paper here back in September of 2022 to a group of therapists, and he said, "My idea of collusion has not gone viral in our community, in our culture. Another view has gone viral, and that is it's a view that's individualistic, and I'm offended by what you're doing, and I'm hurting, and so I have the right to do this and that." That view has gone viral, that we're victims.
And not in harmony with the world around us, and can't be in harmony, and have to fight for hours.
Yeah. What's ours?
And I believe Terry Warner's is the complete opposite. You can be in harmony with the world around you, and we are a we. And we function best as a we,
Yeah.
looking to see and understand each other and care about each other.
I have heard so many stories. I first was introduced to these ideas in 1978. So however many years ago that is, 47 years ago. Since that time, I have heard thousands of stories where people have been in painful relationships, collusive relationships that they participated in with somebody else. And that doesn't mean they're equal. Some might be much worse than the other. And then they got out. And when they got out, they saw it all differently every time. It blows me away. And in any of those circumstances, whether Terry Warner was teaching the seminar or somebody else was teaching it, there was no, oh, go do this. This will help you. There's no prescription to it. And that amazed me. But people will listen to other people's stories and see themselves, and they get it. They all of a sudden see something differently, and the other person's humanity just, it's awakened in them. And they start to receive that humanity. And I'm not offended anymore. I'm not hurt anymore. I understand.
So often in therapy, when I'm working with people, the most painful relationships, the ones that hurt enough that they come talk to a stranger and spend money and time, and I mean, I'm amazed that I have a job.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why anyone would come talk to me. You know what I mean? But it's because there's a desperateness to what they're experiencing. They feel stuck and that there's no alternative to the existence they're living. But what's interesting is those relationships are always the most important relationships in their life. They're always...
They can't just walk away.
It's the child. It's the husband. It's the mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're relational problems.
And so one of the mindsets that I'm trying to do is, and what I notice, this dynamic a lot, I feel like I have to choose between two values. I have to either sacrifice and make you happy, or you sacrifice and I'm happy. And we have to pick between these two.
Just the moral dilemmas.
And I find that they often have a very robust story and like a treasure trove of evidence as to why that's true. What I immediately start trying to do is to question if it's actually true. Because what I find is this, it's not.
Yeah.
What's true is my values, if we care about each other, if we are beings in relation and we love each other, your goals and objectives perfectly align with mine. You want me to be happy, and that really matters to you.
Yeah.
And I want you to be happy, and that really matters to you. And there might be a little like, oh, well, because of that, like, there's only 2 cookies left. Let's both take 1. Or there's 3. You know what? You have 2. It's not that important to me. And like, there's these like little things that you work out. And like the cookies analogy is good because they really, like, they're all workable when we realize, oh, like we both want the exact same. We're not at odds with each other, but in sync with each other. Once you're in sync, it's just, well, how do we figure this out? We both love each other. We both want each other to be happy. That's pretty doable.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely weird things, you know, like.
So it's interesting you
know?
say that again, just going back and touching on self-deception. When I become self-deceived, my values are also distorted in that.
The objective changes.
Yeah, I'm there for my sake, and they're really good ones though. I always have some really good values that I'm relying upon to blame my wife with.
When I'm alive to others, I am seeking to live my values. When I am deceived, I am seeking to excuse the ways that I'm not living my values. And
or I'm seeking to get them to live my values.
right.
My distorted values.
Right. But
Look,
but the objective is dramatically different. And people say, like, I'm just trying to be happy. I beg to differ. And I understand, I get there all the time. I do this all the time. But in those moments, I am not trying to be happy. I'm trying to assess blame. You know.
Because if I can get you to stop, then
even that, I think that generates from morality. I think that generates from us being good people. I think that we struggle I think it's hard for us to tolerate not being good. And so when we do wrong things, it's hard for us to sit with that. And it's easier
It's a s-
sometimes.
It's a self-troubling act.
Tell me more about that phrase.
If I look, it's not what's written on a wall somewhere. If I'm something is written in my heart and my mind, and I've learned it, I've discovered it, and it's how I'm trying to live, and I do it lots of the time, but then I violate that, I'm going to be troubled.
Yes.
There's no escaping it. There are consequences to that. And I can either own up to it and simply, hey, look, that was really unkind of me, and just apologize and move on. Or I can make out that I was provoked or it's really not my fault.
Yeah. And the way that I've always, to me, this is like one of my deepest core beliefs. If I were to say like the most important, deepest, fundamental truth that I got through all my exploration of Arbinger, Terry Warner, and all the works that you've exposed me to and that I've searched out, the human brain has to be justified. It does not have a choice.
Oh, that's interesting.
It can do it in two ways. It can do it by living your values, right? Or it has to find a reason it didn't live its values. And a lot of times there's a lot of weapons we can use that. Sometimes it can be internal. You can turn it internal and say, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, there's some aspect of me that's flawed.
I'm a bad person. I'm broken.
Yeah.
Or I can just say, I would live my values, but you're so impossible. How could anybody do what's right when they have to deal with you?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Debbie's still asking that question. So you're talking about those moral dilemmas. One of my all-time favorite is not the ones constructed in moral reasoning classes, but here's one. So a friend of mine, Dwayne Boyce, is teaching a moral reasoning class, and he says, what do you do when your grandmother calls up and says, hey, I just bought a new hat. I want to bring it over, and you tell me what you think about it. Now, grandma is a bit of a renegade. She's just gonna do grandma's thing, right? So you see her coming down the sidewalk to your house. She only lives a few doors away. See her walking down, and she's wearing a hat that Carmen Miranda. Do you know who Carmen Miranda is?
No.
She was a Latina actress. I hope I've got that right. In the black and white films, the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yes. Gotcha.
And she would be doing a samba, but she always had this hat with pineapples and bananas and all kinds of fruit in it, and big green leaves and that sort of stuff. And so here she comes in the house and she says, what do you think? Well, the class said, oh my heavens, what do they notice in this? Well, either I tell her it's ugly and offend her and hurt her, or I say, oh, it's beautiful, and lie to myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that argument would go on for 15 minutes or so.
Right.
And then Dwayne said, any of you interested in what I said to her? Because it's a true story. And they go, yeah, what'd you do? He said, I turned to my grandmother and I said, grandmother. Oh, actually, before I say that one of the kids' comments was so artful. It was, Grandma, you look great under that hat. Yeah, I'm going to dodge the question. But Dwayne said, I turned to her and I said, Grandma, it's not attractive on you. A bathtub would look better. He says, yeah, I kind of thought so too. So what happens sometimes, we uptake something that's coming at us in a way that we make all kinds of assumptions about how people are going to respond if I say this or if I say that. And we're dithering terribly. But when someone loves grandma and knows that grandma knows that I love her and I know she loves me, I can say things like that. And there's no hurt, there's no pain.
Well, and it's interesting too, because it kind of, you see what people are struggling with. And this is that same thing. It's kind of similar to what we're talking about, like, I feel like my needs are at odds with your needs, and I always challenge that. I don't, at the most fundamental
Okay.
levels, I don't think they are, right?
Okay.
But here now we
Yeah.
have, here now we have a different one. This isn't an interpersonal like choice. This is a moral hierarchy, and I really like this. I've been playing with this concept, right? What's worse, to lie or to hurt grandma's feelings, right? And how do we, if we are moral beings, I'm proposing if it's always gonna pain us to go against our morality, we're endlessly faced with these actually kind of tricky circumstances. And I love having this with black and white people. Oh my gosh. Is it wrong to lie? And a black and white person will say yes. And I say, is it always wrong to lie? Yes. And I go, what about like the story I always think of is that I think it's set up in The Hiding Place. And what's funny is she actually doesn't lie in that, but anyway. In The Hiding Place, like this Christian family is hiding Jewish
or a downed airman or something.
Yeah, they're hiding somebody, I believe, in a floor panel under the table, right?
Something like that.
But imagine yourself in this situation. Nazis come in and they say, "Hey, we heard you might have some people here that aren't supposed to be here, and we'd like to take them." And you already know. You know what's going to happen. You know why you're hiding them.
Yeah.
So once again, is it wrong to lie if lying's going to save a life? Now, I don't know why. Maybe I'm curious where you land on this. I don't have a problem at all. Lie. It's the right thing to do. What's interesting in the Hiding Place story, this little girl doesn't want to lie and has such a deep conviction of it. And almost inspired, she goes, "They're under the table," which they are, right? But when they start to lift the table, she laughs uproariously. And she makes like she was teasing them and making fun of them and like cranking on these SS like guards, soldiers, these Nazi soldiers. And they get mad at her, like real funny. And they don't look under the table, but she was telling the truth. They were there, right? So I'm glad that she was able to do that. I'm curious where you land. I bet lying to me is not a fundamental morality. It's how it affects people.
Yeah, that's one of the examples.
For me.
For another example is, let's say a family's in a car accident and both mom and dad don't survive, and they're even on the operating table, they're trying to put them back together and they don't make it. And the daughter's also just barely clinging to life.
Okay.
And she says, "Are my mom and dad okay?" And you know enough as a doctor to know that if you say, "No, they died," that she might lose her own will to live. She might just give up. What do you say?
I know, excuse me, I know what I do in those situations. They're being taken care of by very skilled professionals right now.
Yeah.
Which, that's a middle ground, but
No,
also...
it's a lie.
Oh, do I know they're dead?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know they're dead.
Okay, well, yeah, no, then that doesn't work very good. Yeah, I would either, yeah, I don't have a problem with, I don't think I would say they're okay because I know that that's going to be painful on the back end. Yeah. But once again, the reason it's wrong isn't because it's a lie to me. The reason it's wrong is because that's going to be very painful on the back end.
It's going to hurt her.
Because of her.
And it undermines her trust in the medical profession, etc.
Right, but I can say we're doing everything we can for them. They're being cared for the best of our abilities. Yeah. Which, even if they're dead, is a true statement. Yeah. Like, we're treating them with respect and dignity and caring for their bodies.
And even
right, and then in the appropriate moment, you go, well, we did everything we could, and they were not survivable.
And so even in the sacred text of the Bible, according to the text, the Lord tells Moses, when he's going into Egypt to lie and say, don't tell them that she's your wife because they'll rape her.
Ah.
Tell them that she's your sister and they'll leave her alone.
And so my construction is, we've put a lot of weight on us being relational beings.
Yeah.
I think all that I am is relations.
Who I am is who I am with others.
And the others in my life. I don't exist without them. Yeah. They are my totality. And so if something's wrong, it's not wrong because of some arbitrary
rule written in stone.
It's because of how it affected others. Yeah. And so a lie is bad if it negatively affects anybody, if it hurts anybody. And most lies are that, right?
They're self-protective, and
most lies are a diminishment of like who you are and how and what you deserve in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And so yeah, most of the time lies are bad, but if I lie to protect a person, that's in my value system.
Yeah.
Interesting thought I had today.
I use the word deceive in those moments. I'm going to deceive my captors, my oppressors.
Yes. Yes.
And because it's in a context.
Yeah, the context of the word lie is usually negative.
One of these times,
but deceive can be done honorably.
I'll have to tell you the story of the Lipskys. This husband and wife, Jewish, Avram and Tanya Lipsky, were living in Ghent, Belgium, when the Germans came in. They were occupying, so they hide. But they have a very young boy, Rafi, and he's boisterous and he's loud, and he'll give him away. So they end up, they find a woman who will take him in. Madame Chameau will take him in as though that he's actually a love child of hers. And through that, they preserve his life through the war, and he survives. He was still alive in the 80s. But Madame Chameau goes to Rafi and says, your name, that's no longer your name, is Nicholas Loubet. Nick, 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 Nick. And she drums it into him, He's pushing back a little bit in the beginning. Finally, he's just doing it, responds to, hey, Nick. And he responds, and hey, Nick. It's all going great. And one, like months later, 6 or 8 months later, she's walking by his bedroom. The bedroom door's open a little bit, and he's got his teddy bear, and he says, I want to tell you a secret. My name is not really Nicholas Loubet. But I can't tell you, because if I did, I'd have to spank you. And he spanks the bear, but he never says the real name.
Yeah.
And she could never figure out how much he had assimilated the name, and just became clear to her he hadn't become that. Her worry was if he still knows it, he might disclose it.
Yeah.
If captured. But the story is worth reading. I can send you a copy. It's stunning.
When it's this idea of these...
The parents are making decisions to deceive the Nazis. In fact, at one point, I think they're nieces of the mayor of the town, and the mayor is a Nazi sympathizer. And they're going down the road one day with Madame Chameau, and they cross paths, and they go, Rafi, that's Rafi Lipsky. And she says, no, it's not. And they insist, and she insists. This is my child, you're wrong. And anyway, they part, and they go, oh my heavens, those are so close. They might now know who he is and where he is. And so what do? So she contacts Avram and Tanya, and they ride their bicycles through the night, sneaking around all the sentries, and they have this discussion, what are we going to do? And they make the decision to keep them there, but the dad's going to write those two nieces a letter and threaten their lives. We'll kill you. And all of a sudden, Nick comes in the room. He's there at the doorway, and Madame Chameau says, oh, Nick, come in, meet my guests. This is Madame and Monsieur Theophile. Do you not feel that Madame Elsa here is as beautiful as your mother? He said, oh no, my mother was much more beautiful. And your father, does Monsieur Theophile, does he not resemble your father? He said, no, my father was big. He was so strong. He had to go through doors sideways. Well, okay, you've bothered my guests enough. Come give me a kiss goodnight. She sends him off to bed. You're the parents. You just heard him not recognize you.
Yeah.
Now the price is, will he be our son, even if he's alive?
You're right. I'm really keyed in on the name part of it, though. And I apologize. I feel like you're going here, and I'm like, oh, but I don't want to go here.
When have we ever not done that?
Drills it into him, and he knows that it's important. This is your name. This is your name. No one can know your other name. Your name's Nicholas Lubay. Nick, right? And he won't tell the bear his real name. But it's important that the bear knows that that's not who he is. Right?
Yes.
And you see this like in great stories over and over. You see it in humanity. I mean, it's odd to me, of all the atrocities that the Jews endured through the Holocaust, for some reason, those numbers just feel so dehumanizing. You're not a name, you're a number. And it seems that our name, what we're called by, becomes the embodiment of our entire identity and our morality. Let even a child who's programmed, Nick, goes, yeah, but that's not my real name. I am someone else.
Yeah. And I'm going to hold that inside
And
me.
this is mine, right? I love Les Miserables, 24601. Who am I? This question. Am I this convict, this thief that's so angry at the world that I now am justified in hurting others and taking from others, in stealing from a priest who was the first man who showed me kindness. And
Took me in, fed me.
And I took from him at the first chance I got. Who am I?
And still.
24601? And still, yeah. And still, oh, what's that? I hear the song in my head. Anyway. Have you seen The Crucible or read The Crucible?
Arthur Miller? 40 years ago.
Possibly. So my favorite actor of all time, I think he's
I've never seen it, no.
Okay, my favorite actor of all time, I think he's the greatest actor that ever lived, and 90% of the world agrees with me, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh.
Last of the Mohicans. I don't know if you know this, but he's wildly revered as the best to ever do it. So he does The Crucible.
Okay.
It's a must watch for this single scene. He keeps getting put in this position where if he'll sign his name attesting to the guilt of these people, and it would undercut his friends who have held their innocence and their integrity, right? And it would undercut his friends. And at the end, they just want, it gets so crazy. I can't remember the exact outline, but if he'll sign his name, nobody dies. It lets the official authorities off the hook, but they have a document that says, see, we were right. We didn't kill the Salem witch trials. We didn't kill these people for no reason. We got a document. It covers the authorities, but they're also going to acquit his friends and him, right? And he goes to sign it and he can't. And they go, why? And the way he delivers this, oh my gosh. It's one of the finest acting performances I've ever seen in my life. He says, because it's my name. Because I cannot have another in my life.
And I lose my name if I do this.
And he wouldn't do it.
Wow.
And it's so like that, but it's identity. And do you want to hear the wild one that I heard today in therapy?
Yeah.
I got this amazing guy that I'm working with. I think I resonate with him a lot. I get the sense that his story is a little harder than mine, but there's some similarities, right? Really loves his parents, reveres them, but also there was some very, very painful things in his youth, right? And now he's married, he's got kids, but this hurt has carried. And it's turned him into this profoundly moral. He knows what it's like to hurt, and he never wants to hurt anyone, and he never wants anyone to hurt. Right?
Good luck with that.
It's very heavy.
Yeah.
Because part of that means that all my hurt, I can, do you have any hurt? Please give it to me. Please let me carry yours. Chris, I'm fine. I don't want you to carry any of my weight. It's more than I can bear, and what if it hurts you? I couldn't bear that it hurt you.
It's isolating.
It's very isolating, which was the primary wound of his childhood.
Yeah.
In fact, that's an insight I didn't catch before, but it was the primary wound of his childhood as he felt alone, right?
No one there for him.
Right. And yet, now for fear of hurting others, right? Okay, so he wants to do good. He's constantly wearing himself out, trying to be there for everyone, but the weight of it is exhausting. And he's so alone, and he's tired, and he can't keep going. And what's fascinating, I saw this cycle as I was talking to him, this circle, right? I want to do good. I'm afraid that I can't or won't be able to do it, or I'm not good enough. I'm overwhelmed. I am so overwhelmed that I don't think I can do it anymore. The thought that I won't be enough, that I won't be able to give to those I love, is so overwhelming that I should end my life.
Yeah.
What's profound to me is that suicidality is driven by the agony of not being able to give to others what you want to give to them.
That's one way of saying it.
I think that the drive to live your morals is stronger than your drive for existence. And I think that he's flawed in the way he's thinking through it, but
Yeah.
he experiences it as I'm failing at this. And I think that's so painful that he wants to end existing. And I just find it so profound that my drive towards others, relationship, and morality, to me, I see it a lot, and I believe this, the human drive for those things is greater than our very drive for existence. And I just found that really profound. I don't think his logic is, I want to say, I don't want to think his logic is sound.
No, it's not sound because he's making himself a victim.
Yes, profoundly.
Yeah.
But in his world,
In that world, Jim said how he sees the world.
the pain,
Those are the most righteous options I could choose to pursue.
the pain of failing in the way that he believes he's failing, I don't think he is. Like I'm inspired by this man. I get around him and I go, I think I need to try to be a better person. I should be trying, because he's so empathetic and he
yet
wants to do good.
Your description of him has me very suspicious. That it's not straightforward.
I guess I see a part of him very clearly, and I can separate that part out from the part of him that's lost. I guess that's what I'm saying. But I do think a part of him's very lost.
He's disconnected, and he has this. It feels to me more that he says, if I don't live in this way, then I'm a burden to the world, so I can't be here. So you have imposed this upon me to live so perfectly.
Maybe. I'm not positive you're right.
Well, I'm not positive either because he's not here and I don't know him.
Yeah, right.
I'm hearing your story of him.
To me, I get the way I experience it is just the pain of not being who he wishes he could be in his eyes.
Yeah, that just feels, it doesn't feel, there's grace there. Doesn't feel there's compassion there. There isn't recognition of how challenging this life and this world is. Something when you tell a story about the crucible, that this life is portrayed in terms of this metaphor. A crucible is a very wretched, high heat thing. You pour a lot of things in and it just burns everything up, right? Tears it all up. Those seem very similar kinds of stories. But Daniel Day-Lewis's version of that seems honorable, tough, but honorable, and he's willing to do that at a price. And he's willing to suffer the price. It's okay, I'll do that.
To me, this is what excuses us of the guilt, though. Is it wrong to kill yourself for others? Yeah. But
no, it's not
but,
just
but
for
why?
others.
But where? How'd you get there?
Yeah. It's
You
not
got
just
there
for others.
driven. I think, and here's where I find salvation. I think that the worst things that we do are still driven by our morality.
Oh, for sure. Even when I'm my most self-deceived, I still have values and a morality I believe in. That isn't distilled out of my soul. It's just that they're all twisted.
Yes.
So
That's all I'm saying.
yeah,
But
I'm still interested in them.
I still think that, I don't know, it's an incredible expression that, to me, it's an incredible expression that the fear that we're not enough or that we wouldn't be able to express our values or be good enough or that we would hurt others or that we would, that value's greater than our value to live, than our drive to
I think
surrender.
that's a distorted value. I just think the reality is we're going to do it, and I'll learn from it. There's no substitute for experience, and I'll continue to discover and rediscover and more deeply discover the humanity of others because of the choices I make.
Are you talking about the right way to respond to the pain in the world?
Yeah.
Well, yes, of course. I don't think that suicide's a good idea. But
It's a just very distorted solution to
Yes.
a very distorted view of the
yes,
world.
and yes, I'm glad that you're like holding your ground there
So I had a
because I don't want to get the idea that there's this artful beauty to suicide.
No.
There's not. There's
No.
it's
it hurts others.
well, and that's the absurdity of it.
That's right.
In the belief of helping others, you hurt them in one of the most fundamentally profound ways possible.
So that is,
So yes, thank you. Like, and it's I think the only thing I'm having a hard time with is I didn't think I was getting near that. But yeah.
So 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, I had a client, a woman, and she had this device that she did where she would she'd go into her fantasy world. And in that world, although she was a single woman in her late 40s, she would cook a meal, and a husband would come home from work, fictional husband, and they would talk. And if he did something unkind, she would make him apologize. And I listened to her tell this. For her to even reveal this was, She never wanted to tell anybody that, but somehow she decided this day she would tell me this. I listened to that story and I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, I have a crazy solution because I think I understand something about that world. She says, what do you think you understand about that world? And I think, well, I think you're the God of that world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the way this guy's story feels. He's the God of his story.
Yeah. And if you're,
Or at least I'm going to be so much like him that I'll never create any pain in the world. And I can go through here miraculously.
I don't know, Chris.
Yeah. Well, that's why, look, I'm not with him. I have no more details than what you've shared. And I'm making very outlandish declarations.
It's interesting, though, because you do have a very...
Careful what you say next.
Well, you have an intimate experience
Yeah.
with suicide.
Yeah.
And you've experienced it in a way that I haven't.
Yeah.
And yeah. And it's funny because I don't know that I disagree with anything you're saying. Like,
well, look, it's being said.
Is there a selfishness to taking your own life? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is, let me ask you this. Someone has suicidal thoughts and you tell them they're selfish.
Oh, no, that's not the way.
Right, and I know you
may
wouldn't.
have that approach, but I wouldn't have that, may have that understanding, but I certainly would not be my approach.
Right, and why wouldn't that be your approach?
Because I don't think it'd be helpful.
They can't hear it. And I don't think...
Yeah, I don't think it's the way.
I think it's a refusal to join them. Because to them,
Oh,
it,
yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, they have a logic around it.
And you can't... My experience is you can't help somebody walk out of there until you can get in there and hold their hand. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
do know what you mean.
like,
There's actually, I don't know if, I think I've shared this with you before. There's a guy, Matt Licata, and I have a one-page thing somewhere he wrote. My hunch is he's a Jungian therapist, to be my
okay.
guess. But he talks about when we have a friend who comes to us who's really troubled, upset, hurting, whatever, that we have this tendency to try to fix them, solve this problem. We give them advice, spiritual wisdom, insights, and that kind of stuff. But he then points out that some of the things we say are far more aggressive than we might imagine they are. Like, hey, you'll get past this, you know. Or think of all the lessons you're going to learn through this opportunity. And it was very kind of, and he said, that may reveal actually a lot about us, that we're uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. I would
With
like
what
you
this
to
is-
be okay.
Yeah, I need you to be okay.
Because I'm not.
I'm not okay
This is
right
very
now
uncomfortable for me, and I need you to be okay.
because I can't be around you. And that message is very aggressive. So he suggests,
Yeah, please.
can I go sit with them in their darkness, in their struggle, in their pain? Can I sit with them and notice what it's evoking in me, my own unmetabolized struggles and
Well, and
failures in life?
I often just think that you do not understand them until they make sense. I had a guy come into me.
That's interesting.
I had a guy come into me miserable. And I can't remember the story. This was a few years ago. But he tells me this story how he comes home and he goes, my daughter hates me. And I go, maybe she does. And he goes, thank you. Because he goes, nobody will consider that my daughter hates me.
Yeah.
And I think she does.
Yeah.
And I didn't say she does hate you. I go, maybe she does, I don't know. And just the fact that I would consider that his daughter hates him.
That's his experience. That's what's going on.
And then maybe it's real. Maybe she does. I mean, good gracious, do daughters not ever hate their fathers? Like, good gracious. Like
They do with some regularity.
But I think every person, and he had been to a few therapists before me, every person that he broaches that subject with gets uncomfortable and goes, no, she loves you. And he's like, well, you know what? This is what our relationship looks and feels like.
Yeah.
And you won't even let me,
Tell you that that's what's going on.
because it makes you think having a daughter that hates you is painful. How are you going to get me out of there if that's what's going on?
If I tell you, no, it's not. That's not what's going on.
Right.
You got it wrong.
And
You're the problem.
and the audacity of that.
Yeah.
I've never met his daughter. I only know her through his eyes.
Yeah.
He's my best insight to what that relationship looks like.
And the worst.
Yes. But I just reject it. Outland. No, it's also wrong to go, your daughter's a real problem. We should get her treated.
Yeah.
That's the other direction problem, right?
That's right.
But just the fact that I'd go, maybe she does. I didn't say she did, and I was careful.
Yeah.
But he just, it was like exploded out of him. Oh my gosh, thank you. And then we explored that relationship and what made him think she hated him. And then we were able to do something with it. But no one ever got to have that conversation with them because they went, no, your daughter loves you. Daughters love their fathers. And that's good therapy, because wouldn't it be nice if that was true? And I'll just tell you that's true. That's not good therapy.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's that piece where there's so many ways I think we convey the idea by saying something like that or something similar, where we say, in order for me to stay around you, you have to get over this.
Right.
So get to it.
Yeah. And that isolating piece, it's ringing in my ears. I like want to call this guy up and be like, oh, I got a cool insight. but the isolation, because people feel that. I am not okay with your pain. I don't know what to do with it. I don't have space for it. You need to figure it out. That's not what's being said, but that's what's felt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But wouldn't it be interesting to say, wow, there's something rising up in me that I don't feel equal to the task of helping you through this pain, and I'm noticing that I'm afraid of it. And what's that like for you to have me, I'm supposed to be a professional, be able to handle it, and I'm afraid. So just know as we go through this, I'm sort of processing my own things where I'm troubled and want to fix people and stuff like that.
There's this phrase I like, to see and be seen. And relationships only exist with both, right? So I can be really good at seeing you, but if I don't want to be seen by you, it's, you know what I mean? It just doesn't work. And that's what you're doing in that moment is somebody comes in and sits down and says, somebody I love died. And I can't handle it. And I don't know what to do with it. It's bigger than I can imagine. I can't function. I'll never be okay again. So they just did this profound showing of themselves. And I think that it goes really well when a therapist goes, well, let me show you myself a little bit. I'm scared of these big emotions. I'm afraid I won't be able to help you. I'm afraid that if I don't have the right words, that you might hurt yourself. You seem like you're really struggling, and that scares me to death.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have the answer right now, and that terrifies me. That's a nice place to work from.
It is. It's
right.
So honest.
And
joining.
At a minimum, that person goes, this is an okay person to be seen with.
This is a place where I can say whatever's troubling me, and he'll join. He'll interact with me. And I like that.
there's no hiding or lying happening here. Yeah. Anyway.
This philosopher is talking about how we, philosophy professor is talking about how from the earliest moments in a child's life, how they begin to become a person and connection with others and how that happens. And it's wonderfully written because he also talks about in communications, there's 4 things happening simultaneously. And you hear that and you listen to him point it out, and it's really hard to think that way, but then all of a sudden you see it happening. So while I'm speaking to you, you're giving me your attention, but you're also receiving what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're giving me your attention, I'm receiving that and also giving you things that I'm talking about. So all that's happening simultaneously.
Wildly complicated.
It's not a turn taking.
Yeah.
And I'm going, when I see my daughters with their babies and how they interact with them, that's exactly what I see happening. It's this amazing, constant,
Giving.
flux. Everything's in flux, talking and responding and that.
An endless giving and receiving.
Yeah, endless, never stops.
Yeah.
Even for the parent, even when the child's sleeping, they're still very much aware of them. They have these little monitors that sit around here that if they wake up, they're often in there.
I mean, I love these conversations with you. I find that I practice a skill that I don't know how good I am at. But here's what's happening in me. I go, you, me, me, you, me. And it's, I try really hard because you'll say something and I'll go, oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And
Your mind goes. I get
and
that.
like a little dopamine hit of an idea fires through my brain, right? And I go, oh, I love that idea. That idea feels good to me. And I go, oh, I want to share it. That's me. Right, a little bit.
Or all of a sudden I start to notice, I know people who I think would be excited about this idea also.
Possibly, and I'm not saying it's like a selfish thing necessarily, but it's just interesting, this dance that's happening. I notice this dance in me.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dance I notice that is like, I have to pick, once again, picking between these values. Ooh, there's these ideas that I want to share, and I know you want to hear them. Like, you're a wonderful friend, and I love talking to you, right? And so, like, that speaks, but then this other thing speaks that goes, Carl, you have a chance to learn here and to understand, Chris. Be quiet.
You don't need to learn from me. I'm learning from you. It's mutual.
Yes, but you feel the same way. Like,
I find in the dance of just talking with somebody, whether it's Debbie, whether it's you, whether it's my son, anybody, a client, I have a hard time reining my mind in.
Yeah.
And I find that when I'm at work with a client, I have a pad near and I write my ideas down. Because I know that I can't interrupt what the dialogue that's happening.
Yes.
But I want to come to it. But I also know at this age
You'll forget.
that I'll forget. I mean, literally I'll forget. I'm kicking myself because I had an insight about collusion here the other night just as I was going to bed. Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that facet before. I got to remember that. Didn't do it. It's gone.
Yeah.
And I can't recover what it was. And that's so troubling to me. So I now keep my phone by my bed, and so I'll do a quick voice memo.
I think it's just what I love about talking with you or anyone that is a good friend and sincere. And it's not something I kick myself or even that I make myself less than or smaller than you. I don't feel like I do.
I don't feel you are.
But when you say, like, when you hear me telling myself to be quiet and you like go, don't do that, like, well, anyway, it's really me having such a cornucopia of things to feast on. And I just am pointing out, like, how excited my brain is. And it's excited in these two ways of, like, I get to share with you and I get to experience and learn from you and understand you better. And I find it so thrilling that like they're dancing in my brain as we're going. And I really, it's, I sometimes quietly inside my own head am giggling because I'm like, I'm so excited